The lights flickered one last time for a man who spent his life outrunning the impossible. On a quiet evening in Italy, the engine of a soul that had survived explosions, amputations, and total darkness finally came to a rest. Alex Zanardi didn't just race against cars, he raced against fate itself, until fate finally caught up to him at the age of 59. The global racing community was plunged into mourning on May 1, 2026, when news broke that Alessandro Alex Zanardi had passed away suddenly at his home. At 59 years old, the man who had become the universal symbol of resilience succumbed not to a high-speed crash, but in the peaceful presence of his family in Noventa, Padovana. The news triggered a wave of tributes from the highest levels of Formula One and the Paralympics, acknowledging the loss of a great champion and a great man. The Italian Olympic Committee, CONI, immediately called for a minute's silence across all sporting events in Italy, a testament to his status as a national hero. F1 President Stefano Domenicali described him as an inspirational figure whose stubborn determination moved the world, highlighting that while his physical heart may have stopped, his extraordinary strength would remain legendary. The first major tragedy that defined Zanardi's public life occurred on September 15, 2001, at the Eurospeedway Lausitz in Germany. Leading the American Memorial Kart race with only 13 laps to go, Zanardi exited the pits and lost control, spinning directly into the path of Alex Tagliani. The resulting 225 mph impact was so violent that it sheared the car in half, instantly severing both of Zanardi's legs. The scene was one of total devastation, with Zanardi later recalling in his autobiography that part of the car stayed with me, and the other part left, with parts of me in it. It was a moment that should have been the end of his story, a horrific accident broadcast to a worldwide audience already reeling from the events of 9/11. Zanardi's survival at the Lausitzring was nothing short of miraculous, as he lost all but 1 liter of blood in the immediate aftermath of the crash. His heart stopped 3 times during the helicopter transport to a Berlin intensive care unit. Doctors Terry Trammell and Steve Alvey were credited with the decisive medical actions that kept him alive when he was essentially on the brink of death. Despite the unthinkable trauma, Zanardi was out of the hospital just 6 weeks later. He immediately began an arduous rehabilitation program, not just to walk again with prosthetic legs, but to design his own bespoke limbs to better suit his active lifestyle. This period marked his transition from a champion driver to a global icon of perseverance. Refusing to be sidelined by his disability, Zanardi returned to the Lausitzring in 2003 to complete the final 13 laps he had been unable to finish 2 years prior. He drove a specially modified car with hand-operated controls, proving that his competitive spirit was unbroken. This return was more than a publicity stunt, it was a reckoning with the track that had taken his legs but failed to take his soul. Eventually concluding that his time in Formula One and top-tier open-wheel racing was over, he pivoted his focus to the World Touring Car Championship. For 5 years, he competed at a high level, even securing multiple race wins, demonstrating that a driver's talent resides in their mind and hands rather than their feet. In 2007, Zanardi discovered handcycling, a discipline that would lead him to the pinnacle of a second sporting career. His transition to paracycling was remarkably swift, as he applied his racing knowledge of aerodynamics and endurance to the 3-wheeled machines. By 2012, he was standing atop the podium at the London Paralympics, winning 2 gold medals at the historic Brands Hatch circuit. He repeated this extraordinary feat 4 years later in Rio de Janeiro, bringing his total Paralympic medal count to 6, including 4 golds. He became a powerful advocate for athletes with disabilities, often stating that his life post-accident was a happy life because of the new opportunities he had been given to inspire others. Tragedy struck for the second time on June 19, 2020, during the Obiettivo Tricolor hand-cycling relay race in Tuscany. While descending a hill near Pienza, Zanardi lost control of his handbike and veered into the opposite lane, colliding head-on with a truck. The impact resulted in severe head and facial injuries, thrusting him back into a life-or-death struggle. He was airlifted to a hospital in Siena and underwent 3 hours of emergency neurosurgery before being placed in a medically induced coma. The world watched in horror once again as the unbreakable man faced another catastrophic hurdle, wondering if even Zanardi's legendary will could overcome such profound neurological trauma. Following years of private struggle and gradual physical therapy, Zanardi's journey reached its unexpected end on May 1, 2026. His family's announcement noted that he passed away peacefully, surrounded by the love of his family and friends, bringing a close to one of the most storied lives in modern sports. The sudden nature of his passing at 59 felt like a final, quiet exit for a man whose life had otherwise been defined by thunderous engines. He leaves behind his devoted wife, Daniela, and their son, Niccolò, who had been his primary support system through every setback. At the time of his death, the racing world was preparing for the Miami Grand Prix, where drivers and personnel stood on the grid in a solemn tribute to the man who had taught them the true meaning of the word fighter. Alex Zanardi will be remembered not for the tragedies that befell him, but for the way he refused to let them define his existence. He transformed from a two-time kart champion into a global beacon of hope, proving that resilience can drive us to new heights, no matter the setbacks. His life was a masterclass in adaptation, showing that even when the body is broken, the spirit can remain unyielding. As the flags fly at half-mast across Italy and the international racing circuits, the tragedy of his passing at 59 is tempered by the sheer volume of life he managed to pack into those years. Alex Zanardi didn't just finish the race, he showed everyone else that the finish line is only wherever you choose to stop. For Alex, that finish line was never a tragedy, it was a triumph.